Good morning, lovelies! Today we are talking about a trope that is near and dear to my heart. By which I mean I hate it more than life itself. The token girl, aka Smurfette Syndrome. Now this video was requested by a fan ages ago, and I am so sorry that it took this long for me to deliver. I hope it lives up to expectations. Sorry about that. Alright, so first things first, what is the token girl? Sometimes it's called the Smurfette Principle or Smurfette Syndrome, named after Smurfette, the first female Smurf that we see in that franchise, and for a while, the only Smurfette that we see in that franchise. The token girl is what happens when you have a large cast of characters and all but one of them is a girl or woman. Everyone else is a guy. Or you have a general cast and then a handful of characters that's grouped together, and of that group, only one of those characters is a girl. So an example of this, even though it has multiple girl characters, Harry Potter does suffer from token girl syndrome. Ginny is the only daughter of the Weasley family. She is a token. Fleur Delacour is the only female Triwizard Tournament champion. She is a token. Dolores Umbridge is the only female Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher. She is a token. Risa Hawkeye from Full Metal Alchemist is the only girl on Colonel Mustang's military team, and thus she embodies that trope despite the appearance of Winry and several other girls and women on that series. Same with General Armstrong of Briggs. And the presence of Jane Foster and Darcy Lewis in Thor does not negate the fact that Sif and the Warriors 3 has the token of Sif herself. I call this character the lone vagina. According to TV Tropes, if your group of characters is 4 or more and only one of them is a woman, you got a token girl. This can totally happen with villains too, by the way. Going back to Full Metal Alchemist, we get 7 immortal homunculi associated with the 7 deadly sins, led by this shadowy father figure. The original manga and the rebooted anime Brotherhood, only one of them is a woman, Lust, because of course anything having to do with sex or romance is relegated to women. The less good 2003 version of the show changes Sloth's gender from man to woman, which changes the token girl trope to the 2 girls to a team trope, which we are going to talk about later. The token girl is old, likely because thanks to centuries of patriarchy, the vast majority of classical literature was written by men, and men didn't really rate women unless it was a love interest or a romance. You go back far enough and you can see it in ancient Greece. Atalanta is the only female hero of Greek mythology. All other mortal women are relegated to wife, mother, or someone's rape victim. And because this trope is so old, it still creeps into modern storytelling. Now, why is this a bad thing? Well, for starters, half of the human population, and therefore likely half of your potential audience, are women. So if half of your cast are not women, you better have a good explanation. Secondly, the token girl will often only be on the team because she is exceptionally good at whatever it is that she does. Probably better than the guys even. Meaning, she only gets her seat at that table for being near perfect or exceptional, while all the guys around her get to be just average. And this is a subconscious way of thinking and choosing who gets a seat at the table that permeates in the real world. You're saying that girls who are not exceptional, who are not perfect at their job, who are just as average as the guys around them, don't get a voice or a seat at the table. Now that might not be what you're trying to say, but I guarantee some members of your audience will think you're trying to say that. And finally, the token girl is usually very poorly written. She's not a character. She is a box for the author to check so that way he can say, see, I'm not sexist, I wrote a whole woman in my story. She won't have her own narrative arc. It'll revolve around a guy, usually romantically. Meaning she only exists for the guy to claim her as a romantic partner as a reward for saving the world. And the whole lead up to that will include sexualizing her in various ways for the cishet male audience to ogle over. She will likely be damseled and need to be rescued by the hero who will claim her as a romantic partner despite everyone around her saying she's a great fighter and despite the fact that she's supposed to be exceptional and brilliant and great at kung fu fighting or whatever reason she's there in the story. Basically, she ends up as a faux action girl or useless warrior woman, which I have bitched about before. It is very rare for a token girl to be written well. As in, she is an actually engaging, interesting character and passes the Makomori test of having her own narrative arc that does not revolve around a guy. I only know of 5 such token girls in modern media. Makomori herself, Princess Leia, Eowyn, Mulan, and Salt. Eowyn and Mulan provide, I think, the only justifiable reason to have a token girl in a modern story, and that is if your story primarily takes place in a military that excludes girls and women, except as camp followers, and nurses, also nuns and other caretakers of the dead, civilians that the soldiers might run into and otherwise interact with, spies, assassins. You know what? Justifying your token girl might actually take more time and energy than just writing another woman, which is precisely what most authors do these days. Because the thing is, fans have grown savvy toward the token girl trope and all the sexism that it represents. So when one pops up in modern media, we're kind of just like, oh, great, this one has a token girl. I'm not seeing that. I'm not reading that. Whatever. So authors will write in a second girl in order to offset that. This creates the related trope 2 girls to a team, which you have definitely seen before. MCU did this with Age of Ultron. In the 2012 movie, the only woman on the Avengers team was Black Widow, a token girl. So with the next team ensemble movie, they added Scarlet Witch, making her the second girl to the team. You've also got Teen Titans, Power Rangers, The Incredibles, both the central core family and the group of 6 new superheroes that we get in the sequel. How to Train Your Dragon, Big Hero 6, Kung Fu Panda, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Leverage, Game of Thrones, when you break it down via family and set piece, loves this trope. And that's not even touching on all the horror movies, which, oh my god, they just love this trope. They use it to death. Evil Dead, Cabin in the Woods, Scream, The Thing prequel, almost every single movie in the Alien franchise. 2 girls to a team is a lazy fix, especially if the team in question has 6 or more characters total, making those 2 girls still firmly in the minority. But it is better than the token girl. With 2 girls to a team, you can expect such subtropes as tomboy and girly girl, red Ani and blue Ani, and especially in a 5-man band, those 2 girls will almost certainly be the heart and either the lancer or the smart guy. The 2 girls to a team thing also signifies the weird way that we consider media for consumable for girls, boys, and unisex, especially in kids media. If a team, for example, is majority female, then that show, movie, book, whatever will be marketed toward almost exclusively girls. But if the main team is primarily male, then it will be marketed toward either exclusively boys or it will be considered unisex. Which just goes to show that we've been taught to think of guys, maleness, as the default or normal human setting, even though there is no such thing as a default or normal way to be human. Whereas femaleness is considered weird or like, oh god, how to describe this? Like, girls are supposed to be able to relate to male characters as well as female characters, but boys are only supposed to relate to male characters and they're discouraged from relating with female characters. Think about how weird that is. And you also gotta consider, I mean, especially with kids media, how are these boys going to grow up? Diversity and representation are really important in our shows and our stories, and it's not just so the kids of diversity, of minority groups can see themselves. That is important, but it's also so that way kids in majority groups can see that they are not always the center of every story, so that they can see that other types of people are leaders, are heroes, and that it's okay to follow them and okay to idolize them. Okay, let's get back to the point here. Writing a token girl or 2 girls to a team is not good writing. You're not doing the cool thing or the feminist thing or pleasing your female readers. You're just being lazy. If you can write 1 or 2 good female characters, and I have multiple videos helping you how to do just that, then you can write more. It's the 21st century. You're out of excuses. That's all I got. If you are a male writer and you're struggling with how to write women characters well or how to write an actually strong female character, I already have multiple videos to help you with just that, and if you have further questions, I encourage you to ask me in the comments. There will be zero judgment. Half the reason I created this channel is to help authors like you. I will see you next time. Bye, lovelies!